Okay, we are live now. Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. And it's a great chilly afternoon in Delhi, at least, and the temperatures are going way below 10 at least. I hope you guys are all cozy and warm, at least in your office spaces or home, wherever you're working out of. Thanks a lot for joining the stream today. Today is the 1st of Feb. It marks the beginning of a very, very important month for us. We're going to be organizing a month-long video series called F2F Lawyered. It is based in and around the problems that we have faced in the legal industry in the past year. So, I mean, I want to look at the positives. Gone is the year of the pandemic. The economy, as we're going to be hearing in the budget today, is supposed to be flourishing now. The budget is expected to do very, very well. We as a country are expected to do and slated to do very well. But it's also important to not just talk about what happened in the past year. It's also important to understand what our learnings are from the past year. It's very important to go back to sort of ponder as to what kind of difficulties we faced, how we overcame them, and if there is some sort of key takeaway for all of us. I hope not. We shouldn't have to face any of this anymore. But God forbid if we find ourselves in a similar kind of a circumstance, then what is the best scenario? What are the key learnings that we've taken away with all of us, and how to keep those with us, and make sure that our practices, our business, our economy, none of that suffers as much as it did in the past year. Beginning today, the very first session, we have a very brilliant panel with us today. We have Mrs. Richa Bangia Kaushal. Richa is the Associate General Counsel of EisnerAmper. EisnerAmper is one of the leading accounting, auditing, and tax firms based out of the United States. Richa has over 9 years of experience in the legal industry. She's played a lot of, she's worn a lot of hats. She's been into consulting. She's been in an in-house role. She's done mergers and acquisitions. She's into data privacy. And currently she's working with EisnerAmper. And to sort of help Richa is Mr. Parshav Jain. Parshav sir has over 15 years of experience. Again, he also is a lawyer. He's a CA. He's an MBA. So Parshav Jain has also, seen all sorts of sides of the coin when it comes to the legal practice. He's also been associated with the Big Four. So accounting, auditing, taxation is, it runs in the blood for the two of you, I believe. And this is the best sort of panel that we could have had today. I'm glad to be hosting today's session, which is on contract management. Again, thanks a lot, Richa, and thanks a lot, Parshav sir, for joining us here today. The very first question that I would like to pose to the two of you is because we're talking about the lockdown, and we're going to be talking in the next half an hour about the learnings of the lockdown. We'll first have to identify what were the key operational challenges that you faced. We'll start with Richa first, and then we'll move over to Parshav sir, and we'll understand how Nutzen Legal, which is sir's brainchild, and it's a full service law firm. How the two of you in your various capacities faced what sort of operational challenges. We'll start with you, Richa.
Thank you, Rishwin, for such an overwhelming introduction as well. Okay, so there were a lot of operational issues, just like we just faced while connecting this
Correct.
call too. That was one of the major technical issues. Were one of the major issues that were being faced because the work from home setup came into the picture suddenly, and not just in one company or one industry. It came into a picture worldwide, globally. Everybody was working from home and managing everything technically, having discussions, meetings on call. That was one major operational issue that that all of us faced. But thankfully, the IT departments adapted to the situation, and the IT teams worked really hard day and night, and they were able to overcome the issue. Apart from that, a crisis like the one we are in, or we currently are experiencing, it requires a quick thinking in the face of uncertainty. And however, with such high stakes and on the line, the stakeholders and all business units, including the legal teams, found themselves making analysis paralysis of every situation, and the inability to make the quick decision was one operational issue that we faced, because the decision making couldn't be fast, because there was so much to think through, and we knew that we have to make the right decision. So that kind of pressure was there. That was one issue. The another was the business landscape was changing with a rapid pace, and it seemed like the government released new regulations on daily basis, and not just daily basis. We had it seemed like every minute we are inundated with a relentless flood of information about COVID-19. And while having the access to the latest news, it is a blessing, but it can also be a burden, because information overload is a real thing, to be honest. And you to pick out the relevant information from such a big chunk of information that is provided to you, and then working on that piece of information and how to pass on to the relevant business units was another operational issue. um, there was one more that topped the list, was the issue of maintaining confidentiality. Of course, work from home was a big threat to confidentiality, and a lot of people who, so there are people who work from home, like our company have work from home policy in case of any emergency, but not every business unit has worked, so they don't know what file I can download, what file I can print, or what file I cannot print. And when everybody went work from home, we could not even train people on that this is what you can download, this is what you cannot download, this is client information and this is not client information. But I think we sailed through, and we are in a much better position today. So these were the top operational issues that are in the top of my mind right now. I'm sure there must be more.
Right. No, thanks a lot for sharing that. Over to you, Parshav sir. Running a firm is also very, very challenging, especially during the lockdown. I'm sure all of these issues you would have faced, and some more. I would love to have you shed some light on, what were the operational challenges that you and your team faced as soon as the lockdown was imposed.
Sure, Ashwin, and thanks for inviting me for the talk for this talk. So let me first tell you, like, why companies enters into a contract first. Okay, the reason why contract is to encourage cooperation and increase the productivity. In the absence of enforceable contracts, so there are like numerous circumstances which can exist for the either parties might be tempted for non-cooperation, but contracts ensures that this doesn't happen. That's a very important thing. Why there is it's a heart and soul for any business organization. And in this pandemic, it has become like a true effectiveness has been tested. So a lot of substandard contracts or like overlooked clauses were there, which were like the most talked in this COVID situation. And during these circumstances, most of the contracts were failed to provide for an exit route in this pandemic. So I believe like a robust contract lifecycle management provides to handle these type of challenges. So even like you'll be amazed to 57% of the contracts are went into the dispute because of just the understanding gaps. And in the contract life cycle, the contract management is the penetration in India is just 0.1% compared to US, which is like 53%.
Right.
So that's the market, and it's the market is going to touch in the phase of the strong contract life management is going to touch about like $2.9 billion. So the major operational challenges which we were talking about are asking. So from the industry perspective, I'll take it at a macro level. Every industry was talking about like how to protect their employees, how to safeguard their retain their employees, and why, so that like the major another concern was they were facing about the business continuity, how they can protect their business and revenue, and how to deliver the business continuity with no or minimum disruption. And from the legal perspective, there was like a lot of challenges. Like imagine like tens of thousands of contracts which you have drafted in the past, or like your clients are working on. They need to be organized again, renegotiated again, and you need to just see like all the stakeholders, like what Richa just mentioned. Okay, like quick decision, which was not becoming possible because people were working from home. Technical challenges.
Correct.
So it was like when you are in office space, yeah, if you just say, okay, like let's have let's go to conference room, but that was not happening in the work from home and quarantine environment. So that was one of the operational challenge, and a lot of contracts which were getting into like mass, you can say, amendments were required. So amending all these contracts was a really another challenge. So like I believe like year 2020 was like a January, February, and like December. It was like a so quick, like people or organizations were not even able to like understand what has happened and what's going to happen and how long
Correct.
it will take time. So that's the challenge which like we have faced it. Like we believe like most of the organizations have faced, and most of these so all the professionals were asked to assess their risk, assess their, you can say, the impact of this pandemic on their suppliers, on the vendors, partners, employees, and everybody is knitted with the contracts.
Correct, correct. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Parshav sir. In fact, that's a great point for me to segue into the next question, which I will pose to Richa right now. So today we are here to discuss contract management and how that was impacted during the lockdown. So contract management and contract life cycle has a lot of stages to it. There is drafting, there's negotiation, there's redrafting, then there's signing and execution, there's closing, and then there's compliances, there's renewals of contracts. There's a ton of things involved in the life cycle of a contract. And like Parsha sir rightly said, the contracts are the soul of any relationship, of any business, because no business can sort of survive on their own. They need to be associated with their vendors, their suppliers, their manufacturers, their OEMs, and a ton of other people and entities, right? So Richa, what were the kind of contracts that were affected in your practice the most, and how did you all adapt to, how did EisnerAmper adopt to the changed scenario? How did you manage the life cycle of the contract as we know it? Were there any new stages that were brought in? Were there any stages that were revoked? What was your experience?
Right, absolutely. So it is no understatement to say that corona virus did impact the majority of the industries across the globe, and the way they function and the way the paperwork functions. And so we went, there were three major considerations that we had in mind: is one, how to protect our people; two, how to protect our business; and three, how to deliver business continuity with minimum disruptions. So we decided, and in a contract management, with the contract management aspect, we are a service industry. We provide tax and audit services to our clients, and most of our contracts are service contracts, which were the most affected, because the contracts which were smoothly running in the past also revived, because some parties, some clients invoked force majeure, or some places we invoked force majeure. And so the focus was, the priority was both to simultaneously work on new clients, and also to continue the best of relations with the existing clients, and to provide them with the satisfactory services. Even though everything went work from home, the clients went very insecure. So we decided to go back to our basics, and reading and understanding our uh, contracts carefully, and then finding out our rights, finding out our obligations, listing them down, and with every client, we used to go back to our notes, and then we either contract auditing, mapping our deliveries, mapping the payment processes. And when it comes to force majeure, if either party has invoked force majeure, we have to ensure that the adequate notification is being sent, or we understand what the legal implication or business implication is if we have received any notification. Apart from that, business continuity plan played a very important role in drafting the contract, be it for the new client or be it as an amendment for the existing client. A business continuity plan was something that every client was worried about, because we are in a service industry, we are on the giving end of the services. So we it was our obligation to satisfy our clients both in the paperwork and service wise. So yes, whatever is there in the contract is something that has to be delivered by the engagement partner. So the
Correct.
contract has to be so accurate, and the biggest aspect was to mutually agree on the timelines, mutually agree on what the amendments are to be, mutually agree on how we are planning to provide continuous business support. So and apart from that, what became more important was to respect the law, because every time government was issuing, there were new local laws and because we are an MNC, we have global presence. It was important to abide by the local laws, national laws, global laws, and then then draft a complete document, keeping in mind that we are not breaking any law anywhere, and we are abiding by any direction that has been issued, latest direction that has been issued in the particular country or state that we are working with. So I think the most important part was that we were able to identify the problems. We were able to identify our working areas, the focus points and priorities. So which because pandemic was something that everyone was facing globally. So we were lucky enough to have clients who were equally compassionate about the situation. So that really helped in contract in drafting and especially in the negotiations, because even the client is facing the same problem. Client knows what the world is going through. So we were lucky enough to have compassionate clients who had the similar mindset and who supported in whatever we were proposing in the best interest of both the parties. So I would say it was a win-win situation by the end of I would say till today.
Right. No, I think you're absolutely right. I agree wholeheartedly. Having good clients, having understanding clients, and having a team which is there for you and which understands exactly what needs to be done at the right point of time. It's very, very important, because I think with these on your side, you will be able to go through anything, as we have seen in the past year. Parsha sir, what was your experience, and how were you as a law firm able to deliver to your clients, especially with respect to contracts? How did you manage the contracts? How did you manage the drafting, the negotiations, and how receptive were your clients? Because please correct me if I'm wrong. In my understanding and in my limited experience, I have seen that when it comes to signing, everything else can still be done online. But when it comes to signing, there's this traditional sort of legacy method of having a good ball, and everybody, all parties coming together, having a nice luncheon or some evening where everybody then signs and celebrates immediately after that. But obviously, because of the lockdown, none of that was possible. So how receptive were your clients to signing all these contracts digitally, and probably not being able to see the other party face to face?
Uh, so yeah, definitely that was a challenge. So, but like none of us has experienced as far as our generation goes, like none of us has experienced this type of pandemic or lockdown, quarantine. So it was all about experimentation, coordination, and like prioritizing what's the best option on of possibility which can be done. So, but like all the business managers, legal team, in-house counsels, everybody was retrieving their copies of their contracts and finding out what were the their rights and obligations which needs to be fulfilled during this pandemic. So a lot of, as Richa rightly mentioned, a lot of the force majeure clause, which was like never been seen very much, but this was the most talked clause in this lockdown. But there were like good people, there are bad people also. So few of the people who have fulfilled their obligations, okay, they were invoking at the time of making payment of is lockdown, it's force measure, but it's not correct. So we really need to identify which particular positions, at which particular timelines force measure can be implemented. So you can't run away from your responsibilities because
Right.
of people like the other party has fulfilled their obligations. So that was one of the things which we need to make sure that doesn't happen to our clients. And also there were a lot of major contracts which were impacted, but on the other side, a lot of regular contracts, they were like going as usual. So we made sure that these doesn't get impacted from the other parties or our clients. And also to make it more convenient, a lot of, you can say, approval processes were removed in between, so that because of the work from home environment, so definitely that stringent approval processes were reduced a bit. And also local teams were empowered additionally to take decisions. For example, maybe some US firms like Richard. So I'm sure in the regular timelines, they might have to take like a lot of approvals from their head office, but these were like relaxed during these times. And also one of the most important thing was, so as a business continuity, if I have certain commitments, okay, for example, one of my clients has certain commitments, they need to see whether from the back end from which their supplies are coming, whether that's also going to get impacted or not. So that's why you can say a family contract which comes into picture, and the client needs to have all those contracts which like ties one another and which are like dependent on one another. Is having that at one place is very important. And that's why the skill of a contract management is very important. So that's the, and having the renewal process at the right time, whether those dues can come as a in advance, or that was like another important thing which we thought. And that's where like the contracts plays an important role. If a CFO can get a contract signed from the other party, that's the additional revenue in this pandemic, and that's the main objective at that point of time.
Right. No. Thanks a lot for sharing that. Yeah.
And definitely on the signature side, from the last couple of years, like e-signature is becoming very popular, and that has you can say it has taken you can say that was an advantageous thing. So even if people were not able to sign it as on a physical copy, but yes, e-signatures were. But definitely we need the clients or the companies need to see where those e-signatures are, you can say, are honored by which law of the land.
Correct. No, absolutely. So now that you've in fact spoken about e-signatures and having the that kind of a facility or that kind of a system in place, I would also like to talk about so e-signatures is just one aspect of contracting, right? I would also like to understand again from Richa. Now that it's been a year and almost sort of come out of the situation. Looking back, what kind of systems or processes or services or best practices do you think do you reckon that if you had these already in place, just the way we've had force majeure clauses, right? So force majeure clauses, just the way Parshav sir said, and in fact you also concurred, they are something that we've always built as a safety mechanism, but we never really saw them play out as dramatically as we did this time. So now looking back, what other kind of probably services, technology platforms do you think, if they were already in place, this would have been a much smoother ride for you?
Right, you're right about that. So, what happens in a contract life? So, there were a lot of clauses that we had to revisit, be it in the existing client, be it for the existing clients, or be it for the new clients, because we do have templates, standard templates that are ready with the company, but we did have to revisit all of that, and we did have to review and redraft certain clauses, important clauses like force majeure, like business continuity plans. And so utilizing technology could be very helpful. Having a robust contract life cycle management tools would allow to do mass drafting, and run the mass search on the clauses that are affected by whatever incidents. Could be like now it is pandemic, later on it could be something else, anything that disrupts the business. So these tools can be helpful to generate forms, to close the library, to generate playbooks, and for the whole team, and to manage the workflow, and everything else can be done. And more artificial intelligence tools that are existing or that are in the making could be helpful. Having said that, great technologies need great lawyers. It is important that whatever technology is there is being interpreted properly, is being implemented properly, is executed properly. And so technology alone cannot do everything. Even the legal teams have to be trained very well simultaneously how to use
Correct.
the technology. And a great legal team should know what implementation should be taken for the best, and the best course of action should be taken, and leave the uh, in every contract, there's a little room for interpretation every time. And so it is important to find a common ground. And um, so for example, delivery of notices, that changed drastically. We never have we talk about force majeure, still we always used to say, okay, we need to work on this clause, this is important, it is there, and we should do something about this. We always the conversation is always like that. But when it
Right.
comes to delivery of notice, nobody ever spoke about delivery of notices. And that changed drastically, because there is nobody at the registered office, there is nobody at the registered address to receive the
Right.
notice, to work on the notice. So yes, even though technology is helpful, but we need to have more we need to learn more from the situation, and have a robust mix of technology and the workforce to come together, find a common ground, and work on the issues that we saw this pandemic brought in the picture.
Right. No, so I mean, taking cue from what you said, do you think there should have been some system? I'm just thinking out loud right now, taking the example of notices. Do you think we should have some way to contract digitally, some paperless contract, something which is just stored on some servers and systems, which has some pre-agreed dynamic clauses. So, for example, the notice clause, on any given date, if one of the parties feels that now I want to change my agreed upon address for the notice, instead of going through the entire process of having some addendum or some amendment or something like that, you just go back to that system. You have some predefined process which verifies that you're the actual party that entered into the contract, and this is one of the clauses where you can dynamically change some language, and you change that language, and then the contract say revises itself. Do you think that kind of a system should have been in place, or do you think that that is helpful?
I think that can happen if it is flawless, because from where
Right.
I see, there have been instances, there have been agreements that we come across that are not negotiable. So we do have language that we can update or we can modify this from time to time, and we'll post the notification on our website. Now, whenever you have a chance, go and look. And it is the day we posted, it's applicable to you. We can have those clauses, but then
Right.
if I do not see your website for next 10 days, that does not
Mm-hmm.
mean that, I am agreeing to that notification. So there's a reason why contracts have amendments, because contract is something that is mutually agreed by both the parties. So any revision needs amendment, needs mutual notification or agreement on that are we comfortable, receiving notifications. And so now, as technology is taking over, has taken over most of it, we do have clauses. We have modified the clauses into getting notifications in the emails, and things like that
Right.
are going on. So I think we are on the correct direction. Nobody was expecting a pandemic.
Of
So
course.
but now that we have, so I'm sure the languages now will be more accurate about how companies want to receive the notification. And the now the mindsets have changed, especially in India. India was very conservative about work from home situation, very
Absolutely.
conservative, and
Yes.
things have changed drastically. So even though I'm hoping to see a lot of changes in terms of clauses that will include work from home aspect also. Delivery of notification is one of that. So let's see. I'm hoping that the email notification will have equal acceptance and validation like the uh, delivery of notice in person.
No, nowadays so many courts have also actually started
Yes.
accepting WhatsApp-based services.
WhatsApp
Yes,
So
based.
absolutely.
exactly. So I think email
The
is
way
still agreeable.
technology is growing, I'm sure one day there'll be no need of a proper human to be working also.
Correct. I think we're very soon approaching that kind of a system. Taking cue from this, Parshav sir, now that Richa has said that, she hopes to see more and more companies embracing a permanent sort of work from home culture, or at least just accepting that even if it is not permanent, people can actively take work from home or even work from anywhere. You don't have to even work from your own home. You can probably fly out to Goa, take a month off, work out of some space there. You are running your own firm. You have people who are working for you. You as a employer, how comfortable are you, and do you see this culture actually being accepted by people who have others on their roll?
I believe like as an employer, like we don't have any choice now, like because like to retain the people, or you need to accept their choices, okay. And you again, adaptability is the one of the biggest thing. If you don't adapt, you will be vanished, okay. So it's better to adapt and to accept, okay. Like and that creates one of the another aspect, trust. Whether like there is a mutual trust. If you are given some work to your staff, to your junior advocate, whether they are doing it or they are not, so that's the very important crucial thing which comes into the play. If you so that's a mutual trust which is there. So, and definitely if the companies who have digitized their entire the contracts library were in a better position to handle these things.
Correct. Correct. But circling back to the same question that I had posed to Richa, now looking back, I mean, we have almost a year's worth of data and experiences to look into, and this is for Parshav sir. What kind of systems, processes, any kind of say platform, app, software suite, something that you feel, if you already had this in place even before the lockdown, it would have been a much more much smoother sort of a sale for you and your firm and for everybody who's working for you and with you.
Yeah, as I mentioned initially when I started talking, so only there's a contract lifecycle management tools or softwares which are there, and in India the adoption rate is just 0.1% as of now. So it's a huge gap which is there, and like and a much required now. It's not a only nice to have tool. It will be a mandatory to have a tool. It's going to be a very critical because if so one of my like vendor, okay, they wanted to say, okay, like let's implement this in a client. at a client place, deploy the software. So the client said, okay, the awareness is not there about these tools. So they said, okay, no, all our contracts have are stored in a repository in a scanned way. But that's not just a contract lifecycle management. It should be like, as Richa mentioned, the artificial intelligence should talk about the data points. Say how many months or how many days it takes to for a contract to negotiate, on which terms it was getting negotiated, on which clauses, which were not negotiated. So that like in future you have those data points and can be accurately converted or implemented in the next contracts. So that's where like the CLM softwares are very important, and the advantage of those tools are like all the stakeholders involved in the organizations are on the same page. They know like when it can be happen, when the agreements needs to be you can say negotiated, whether the delivery is coming on time, whether payments are getting paid, there is no revenue leakages. So a lot of data points which gives. So answer to all the uncertainty is the data, and so that the data is very crucial.
Right. No, I think this should definitely give a great kickstart to the adoption of technology in the legal practice. Because if I'm not wrong, I think the legal practice is one of the last where technology has, penetrated this practice,
Penetrate.
and sort of, generally people are more embracing and accepting of how we go about things. Because even till, I mean, Feb last year, like you said, the whole year can be divided into January and February, and then the rest of the year. So up until Feb, everything was being done mechanically and manually and done in person. And now suddenly there's a whole lot of talk about contract lifecycle management systems, about HR toolkits, about legal toolkits, a lot of these things in place. And we hope to see a lot more of not just adoption but also innovation, because this really gives a whole lot of ground for tech firms to play around, and for innovators to come into picture and collaborate with lawyers like the two of you to figure out exactly what is needed, and give that to the legal industry. Just wrapping this up now, Richa, what are some of the few important takeaways for you, both personally and professionally, I would say? Key learnings, key takeaways, something that you realized and now you want to keep it with you for the rest of your professional journey.
Right. Key takeaways would be communication is very important, even though we are in a virtual world. I think that's one way of globalization. Now everything is happening virtually, so it is important that your message is getting delivered. Whatever you mean to say is being delivered properly. The communication has to be very clear. Then the next most important thing is training. If you think you need a training, ask for it. No employer will deny giving you a training on something that is useful to the business.
Correct.
Be open for the employers. Be open to train your employees. We have worked with vendors who don't even have laptops. We have worked with vendors who still believe in pen and paper. Things are changing. We do see the AI is playing an important part, but for we can't really blame them completely, because I also see that legal is something very crucial to people. Still believe in going to the court and getting the document registered there, and so there are things that are existing now. Document there have been DocuSign is one thing that has always been there, but Indian market is just not using it. And so blockchain, they are working on something that might be really helpful for legal market, legal contracts as well. So the key takeaways would be is to be open minded, and now is no time to analyze, oh, should we do it, or should just be open minded. Pick up as much technology as you can and start working on it, training your employees, because you never know what the situation. Today it's pandemic, tomorrow it could be anything else. And if you now think that now, yes, the equal productivity can be taken out from the employee who's working from home also, so why not train the employee on things that can support him? So the key takeaways are that make your contracts agreements exhaustive, include everything, safeties and damages, indemnity should be very clear, should be very inclusive. Your representatives, all the SaaS agreements should be very careful about their warranties, what are they warranting to. So there is a lot that can be taken away from this pandemic. And the the companies should be very they should be having good teams, and they should really beef up their staff and create departments for managing crises like these, where there should be POCs employees can contact in case of any such crisis. And manage crisis management teams should be very they should be very helpful in situations like these. So companies should be having teams like that. And the most important part is having a positive outlook. I think in EisnerAmper, the most positive thing I saw was that our CEO has always been so positive about the situation. He never made the employees feel insecure, and he was always there personally asking, answering all the queries about. So job insecurity was a prevailing problem that time, and I don't think he let that get into anybody's mind, or because that could have led to inefficiency also. So I
Correct.
think there were a lot of key takeaways that we can take from the situation, and work on those.
Well, there's a beautiful point that you've touched upon, and I would like to circle back to it because I can see somebody on Facebook has actually asked this. Pooja Dua says, despite the global pandemic in 2020, Eisner Amper was able to get the award for the best accounting firm. How was that done?
I know, I'm telling you. So we created very positive environment for our people, those who were working. There were a lot of reliefs that were given to people who were working, and working from home is not something new for EisnerAmper, but globally, working from home is an operational issue, because even your client is not there in the office and scheduling meetings and everything. But we can't take the credit alone. Our clients have been really supportive. They have been really compassionate about the situation. So I think it's the equal credit goes to the clients, to the vendors, everybody who were working with us in any way, and employees who, employee is the heartbeat of the company. No company can work without an employee. The employees never let their insecurities, affect the efficiency. So it's a collaborative award, I think.
Great, great. No, congratulations on that. In
Thank
fact,
you.
bagging an award like that for the year 2020 in itself is more commendable than something else. Moving over to you, Parshav sir, what are some of the key takeaways for you? Some key learning experiences that you as a practitioner have taken back and would like to keep with you for the rest of your professional journey.
Sure. So what I'll say over here is that even the lockdown is not anymore here over here. The pandemic situation is subsidizing. But the repercussions which the pandemic is left, we are not going to go back to the pre-COVID. Earlier it was like AD, now it's going to be like pre-COVID and post-COVID world. So it's
That's interesting.
same era. It's going to be it's going to be changed. So we really need to see, okay, how the legal strategies will be there and how the risk management could be implemented. Okay, the business continuity. So earlier the people, the clients were looking for entering into a contract for the most cost effective thing. Okay, vendor. But now they have to look for the number of vendors should be available, because suppose if one party was not able, have one of the vendor doesn't have this business continuity plan, and you have given an exclusivity to that company, you will be in soup. That's the takeaways which we have realized. And also the periodic reviews, and there should be sufficient amendment scope in the contract. It should not be like very much, you can say that there can't be any amendment which should not happen. So there should be sufficient scope in the drafting. Okay. And also I believe like a lot of the clauses which were not talked about earlier, the major clauses were representations in warranties, or you can say payment terms, delivery. But now other terms, other clauses which will take equal importance will be like force majeure, clauses like limited liability clause. Okay, how much liability will be there? If there is some material adverse impact, how it needs to be notified. Mediation clause should be there, even like before arbitration and litigation. There should be a mediation clause which should be incorporated. And then obviously the insurance cover, by any chance, if you can get yourself covered from insurance, that's going to be like a, again, cost saving factor. That's my takeaways.
Right. I think more than just the commercials, now I think clients will also want to make sure that everything is negotiated, even in the ancillary terms, like both you and Richa pointed out, something like delivery of notice. Everybody would want to make sure that, even these terms
Emails
are.
are mentioned.
Yes, exactly. Emails, WhatsAppable numbers, any other kind of platform on which that person can be reached. All of these terms will also now take importance, and negotiations will, people will make sure that even while negotiating, these things are also negotiated onto. I think with that, I will. Wrap up today's session. Thanks a lot for sharing your insights in this quick session today, both Richa and Parshav sir. Here's a quick and short, thank you note from the whole family of Lawyered, and token of appreciation both for Richa and for Parshav sir. Just 1 second, I will share the one for Parshav sir also. Uh, Here it is. Yes. Thanks a lot, Pasha sir, for taking the time out of your busy schedules on a Monday, on a very busy Monday, beginning of the month.
And back to a budget day.
Exactly, budget is right here. It's a Monday morning, for taking the time out to share your valuable insights and learnings with our audience. Thank you so much. This has been a great
Thank you.
session,
Thank you.
and I hope to touch base with the two of you again very soon. And we hope to see you on another one of our sessions very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Rishi.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks,
Have a
Richa.
great day.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.